All right, Joe, Borras, and I, Zachary Shahan, head of CleanTechnica, we have a fun new idea for an ongoing video series. The idea is that we're going to debate which of two electric cars is better. I have one that's my preference, and Joe has one that's his preference. Joe, what's this series going to be called?
Friday Night Fights. Yes. Oh man, that was yesterday. Now it's a whole other day. I don't remember yesterday. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
But I really like this idea, right? Because people always ask us, what's the best car, right? And I always get this as soon as somebody finds out I'm at a party, I'm at a wedding, as soon as somebody finds out what I do. And it's always disappointing to not have an answer, right? Because I have to say, that depends. How do you use it? How far do you drive? What's your budget, right? We're doing away with all of that intelligent, well-reasoned stuff. And we're going to do this, Super Smash Brothers style. We're going to set up a random tournament and we're going to go for it. And the first two that are in here.
Yeah, well, I would just a little more background too. I would just say that, we do reviews. We do thorough reviews of different electric vehicles on the YouTube channel. But when you do your own review, it's like, you focus on what you like. It's like one message. I think when there's a debate, that's when you really have the opportunity to dive into quirks that you really like or dislike. You have a lot more opportunity to get into nitty gritties that you just sort of pass over in a general review, maybe.
I think also this is going to help us figure out which one is the worst too, right? Like, which one should you absolutely not, under any circumstances, spend your money on? But I think probably we'll just keep that one to ourselves because, people pay for advertising.
We're not going to do a reverse bracket. That would be
reverse bracket. This one's clearly worse. Move on. So today we've got two kind of sporty, what I would call a high roof. Not really an SUV, not really an off-roader. These are very road-biased cars. They've got kind of sporty looks to them, and they're both about the same size, which I think was kind of convenient, right? But it wasn't really planned this way.
I thought it was funny looking at the Hyundai IONIQ 5 page. They've got it in the SUV category. And I was like, in what world is that an SUV?
In what world? You know what world that's an SUV? In America, because you can't sell anything but an SUV in the United States. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. You could just call it an SUV, put off-road tires on it, and it'll sell.
I want an SUV mini that rides low.
Right. It's a low-riding mini SUV that happens to have road-biased summer sport tires.
Slash car.
Exactly.
We can start with exterior design, and you can tell me why you think the Volvo is better than the IONIQ 5.
Oh man, so I just really love the way that the C40 looks now. I know that it's kind of reminiscent of Volvo's Concept 40. This was the car that was going to replace the V40 and the C40 in Europe in that 2014-2015 model year. They rolled it out as a concept. And that concept, that design language, eventually became two cars. It became, in terms of the S40 Concept 40 that came out, that became the Polestar 2 and kind of informed that entire design language. And the other one became the XC40, which was kind of the SUV flat roof version of this car. And the C40 wasn't a part of that. This was a car that came out later. It was given a fastback body style. It was given that two-tone roof with that high rear shoulder. They pushed the wheels out to the corners, to the extreme corners on these low offset wheels. They put wide wheels and tires on it. And this is just a slick looking car. It looks like a little bulldog to me. It looks classy. And honestly, the fact that we're talking about it and that it seems very contemporary here in 2022, after being first shown as a design in 2015, I think speaks volumes for the car. I think 20 years from now, it's still going to look good. I don't think it's going to look dated. And I think that that's going to be critically important in terms of how they maintain.
I know we're sort of supposed to be fighting about, why your car sucks and mine is great. But to be honest, all the time looking at the car in the background, I'm like, man, that looks really nice. Like, this is the best picture of the car I've seen.
So listen, so that picture of the car, that's not a press photo. That is a picture that I took with my phone off of my porch when I had that car. Thank you, Volvo, who gave me the car for 10 days to drive.
So I did not know that, but let me repeat, that's the best photo of that car I've ever seen. So Volvo Press, contact us, give us a call. No, I'm just kidding. It is really appealing from that angle. It is a good looking car. It's one of the best looking Volvos ever. I do find it a little bit bland. It's a little bit basic, bland Volvo. Okay, I'm an accountant at JP Morgan or whatever. You're like, oh yeah. I just don't find it that exciting. I do find it more exciting than a typical Volvo. I could see myself in it. but I would also be like, why did I get that car? There's so many other fun cars. And the IONIQ 5, immediately I was like, look at this. This is ridiculously cartoonish. It's so fake futuristic, but I love it. And everyone loves it. And everybody should love it because it looks so cool and futuristic. And it has a fun look. It just looks like I'm a fun car. You want me? Come over here. You know, it's just, I love it. The door
Oh,
handles, they go flush with the car are great. Just the overall design, the hubs. I'm not a big fan of a lot of these aerodynamic hubcaps. These IONIQ 5 hubcaps are wicked cool. The front of the car, that like thin bar across for the headlights, the back shape is sort of blocky, you know, like, oh, I've played Minecraft 10 years ago and I still do. I don't personally, but you know, a lot of people do. It's a good game apparently. But you know, it's got a lot of elements to it that are fun, sort of futuristic, sort of right now modern. And there's not many cars that I think look more appealing and light me up more on the road. Maybe the EV6 from Kia, sort of a cousin of the IONIQ 5.
The Kia is a sharp looking car, man. So listen, I agree with kind of everything that you're saying. I love the proportion of the IONIQ. I love the
Better
headlights.
freaking agree, but we'll come back to that.
We'll come back to that. But I do disagree on one thing. You know, we talk about it being futuristic, and it is kind of that fake futuristic. But to me, and I know I love this because like this is the first one of these we're doing on video, and Zachary is really playing up the video element, throwing me off my game here.
Joe is so tired. I've never seen Joe so tired.
I'm just laughing, I'm dying. However, I will say this. I think that the detail elements, the crease in the door, the sort of lines in the bottom sill plates, I feel like the Hyundai IONIQ styling team did not learn the lesson of like the 1999 Mercury Cougar. That car had a lot of very similar design elements to the IONIQ 5. And the first generation Ford Focus was the same way. When it first hit the market, everyone was like, whoa, this is the future. This is incredible. This is amazing. And now you see one and you go, yeah, that car's from 2000, 2002, really dates the car. I don't know if that's going to happen with the Hyundai because that was already 20 years ago. Does that give it a link to that 20 years ago past, or does it make it kind of retro futury? I can't even really answer that question, but I don't know how this car is going to age. I don't know what it's going to look like in 5 or 10 years. And, you know, in the same way that I don't see a bunch of 1995 Hyundai Excels riding around being restored and bringatrailer.com, I don't think we're going to see this car as a future classic in 20, 25 years.
Look at those door handles. They're so like, old school. Oh my gosh.
They are. And there's a reason for that. Volvo actually believes that this is a safety issue. They think the pop-out door handles in the event of an accident are going to be difficult for emergency responders to get to. So they have that loop door handle, and they also have a reinforced plate on each door so a rescue worker can plant their foot on the other door and yank that thing open. You know, the Hyundai, the Tesla,
Joe, you legit know too much about Volvo and Volvo cars. Like you have a serious problem. All right, well, let's jump to the interior. I'm going to actually switch my background for people watching here. If we're keeping these backgrounds, I hope we are. I don't know, but I'm going to put.
I don't know that changing the background is going to help my case. I think that's a pretty good shot of the interior of the background.
Yeah, the interior here of the IONIQ 5 is so, again, modern, futuristic. It's not too much, but it's like borderline too much. It's like it's teasing you. It's like, you know, this is ridiculous, but you like it. You have to like it. So I like the screen. You know, it's long. It's not one of these giant, like some of these Bitom had this giant screen that was like, that is really a little bit crazy. This is big enough that it's really nice and useful and visible, but it's not taking too much space. You got the one behind the driver's wheel, the steering wheel. You got one in the middle. They've changed it up a bit. Instead of going the kind of big center one like Tesla has and a lot of other companies have copied, they've got their own, just extend it out and make it wider. It doesn't have this old like screen like from the past 30 years kind of design, which a lot of cars have.
I just want to be clear. You think that cars 40 years ago, or I'm sorry, you said 30 years ago,
yeah, maybe
had
20.
a screen?
It was 2010. I don't know, but a long time. It feels like forever. That's all I'm saying. It feels like forever.
Oh.
I know it's not that long, but I was trying to sort of make a point that it's out of date. It's really outdated. It's old school. I'll just close with I love a few more things. But okay, you go.
Volvo had the decency to at least make it look like they intended to have two screens. The one criticism I have of the Hyundai interior, which I do like quite a bit, it's very light, it's very airy, it's very open in a way that the center console in the C40 prevents it from feeling. It kind of closes up that interior where the openness of the Ioniq really appealing. But like you look at that dashboard and you know that they wanted to have one continuous screen, and some accountant went, that's going to add $11 to the price of every car. Get rid of it. And now they have these two janky screens that they're trying to convince you they did on purpose.
Wait a second, those are two separate screens?
Those are two separate screens, my brother.
Okay, never mind. Well, anyway, let's move on quick. So I also like you said, very light and airy. I mean, the view is beautiful. The really open center console area. I don't know how many people have driven an original Tesla Model S. It didn't have a center console. I loved. I put my computer bag there. Found it very
It was great.
useful,
Yeah.
nice and open feeling. It was a little bit, like just, oh, we don't have anything to put there. We'll just leave a space.
But you know
The
what I
IONIQ 5,
miss? Do
the
you
IONIQ 5
remember
has.
in the 80s, the cars that our parents drove, they had the bench seat across the front? Like, wouldn't a Tesla Model S or an Ioniq 5, wouldn't it be great to just have that little jump seat in the middle for
Oh,
like short
yes.
hops?
Exactly. Oh my gosh, totally. We got to find a car with that.
We
Yeah,
got to
but
make it. That's our accessory add-on for the Ioniq. You just bolt this in and you're good to go.
yes. Oh, you should talk to Honda. Yeah. But generally speaking, I mean, you have that nice open area there. You have that. I like the light around the speaker in the door. That's just a cool. I know it's just you shouldn't really care, but I like it. They put it there
Didn't
because
really
people like
care.
it. But and then just the last thing is I like the steering wheel. It's got that kind of sporty look, a little bit fun.
It has
You
the
know.
notch in the bottom, that flat
Yes.
notch. It is cool. I do like that. So I will say this. I really like the interior of the Ioniq. There are some cheap plastic bits. There's like the little stock for the windshield wiper. There's all this. There are some cheap bits in there. But everything that you touch, the door handle, the shifter knob, everything that you touch is premium. So they did put that thought into it. My kind of beef with it, if I'm going to say that, is, I still come from this idea that an electric car is a green car, that an electric car is an environmentally conscious car. And when you look at the plastics in the Hyundai, you look at the leathers in the Hyundai, and you compare that to what's in the Volvo, and you know that the fabric and the carpet in the Volvo, even though it's blue and weird looking, it's made from recycled bottles and ocean plastic. All the interior materials, all the rubbers, all the dash mats, that's all made of minimum 25% recycled material, sustainable material. If it's not new, like the cloth interior is made of wool. And they do have a vegan leather, quote unquote, leather and suede option. And every aspect of this car is kind of built with that idea of sustainability, of do no harm, no animals were hurt in the making of this vehicle kind of thing. And that's just something that the Hyundai can't say. And having been writing for CleanTechnica and working with the CleanTechnica group and Zachary here since 2008, nearly 15 years now, coming up in, or 14 years coming up in October for me, October 8th. Um, I gotta say that feels like it should win some points.
Yeah, no, you get definite points for that. I just got to say, I love that your head is sort of like in the floor area of the passenger's seat, and I'm like actually like sitting in the
I
car,
feel like
facing the
that's to
wrong way.
scale though, because I'm not a big guy.
You're you're smaller than the steering wheel, just not to scale. This is you look like a gnome or a dwarf
But
in
I
the
I'm
floor
gonna
of the.
point out the thing that I complained about. So this was not my car. This was a demo that Volvo was kind enough to bring us. And if you look at this, I'm pointing at the blue carpet here. I hope you can see
Yes,
that.
yeah.
Man, does that blue carpet look just awful.
It does look like it's from another era, and again, appealing to this like traditional old school kind of appeal. I don't. It seems more closed
It definitely has like that John Voight Chrysler LeBaron kind of vibe to it,
yeah.
where like,
Yeah, but you
yeah,
definitely, I mean, I think you nailed it with what Volvo wins on. You got to give credit to Volvo. Among the non-tiny legacy automakers, it's got the most aggressive plan to go fully electric.
yeah.
I definitely.
I mean, there's a more progressive angle to it too, right? Because the first time that I ever saw a Super Bowl commercial with two men getting married, it was a Volvo commercial. The
Oh,
first time I ever saw anything like that from a major automaker, there was the Subaru magazine ads that were kind of subtle about it, that they had like the license plate that said like Xena or Girl Lover and stuff in the 90s. But like that was really subtle, and you had to kind of know what you were looking at to understand that that was like an LGBTQ friendly ad. But Volvo just kind of goes all out and lays it out there. They are a very progressive, ideologically progressive company. And like they don't care who knows it. They don't play games with that. Even the cloth interior, it's not that synthetic kind of polyurethane cloth that you get from other less expensive vehicles like the Hyundai IONIQ. But at the end of the day, it's a beautiful, sustainable, heavy wool. It comes from sheep, and the sheep love it. They're just like, this is great, boys. Keep shaving me. And I think that you, whatever else happens, you got to say that the Volvo wins on the sustainability angle.
You got me way off track now, but the Volvo, when you mentioned Volvo commercials, they did for a long time this simple commercial where you drive, it's like a white background, you drive up your Volvo and you plug into a normal electricity outlet. Basically the idea is as simple as plugging in your computer or your phone. And I thought that was so brilliant, because, and I think it was really under acknowledged how brilliant this was, because I believe like 90% or more of people don't realize you can plug a car into a normal electricity outlet. I
Oh,
think
at least 90%.
yeah, at least 90%. Like I don't know the stats, so I'm just trying to be safe, but I don't think almost anyone knows that. I didn't know that for a long time. I charge my Tesla Model 3 in a normal electricity outlet because I have no need to change to a large, to pay $500 to install a level 2. Maybe one day I will do it, but I think that was really brilliant to show people it's this easy. And they made it had beautiful, like quiet, like sound. Humongous props to Volvo's overall team and marketing team. Yeah, well, I will switch to performance, which will give you performance and sound and all that stuff, which will give us both some talking points. But on that topic of the commercial, just to close, I mean, I think that everybody knows the two questions everybody asks you when they come up to you and you have an electric car. How long does it take to charge? How far does it go? They're thinking range. They have this range anxiety issue in their head, and the quiet ease, simplicity of those commercials, just it's a therapy, takes away any concern of range anxiety. And I would just emphasize, we're not talking range in this video, because I don't think either of us care the 20-mile difference or whatever it is between the cars. Like some people may, but that's not what's getting me to buy a car or not buy a car.
No, like I'll plug it in the house and it'll do what it does. And honestly, if I need to go somewhere, like if I was going to Springfield or I was going up to Wisconsin, there are fast chargers along the way, and I'll just plan my route around it.
But the IONIQ 5 does win on range, so just saying.
They both charge. No, I will tell you where the IONIQ wins. It charges much faster. To use the parlance of my friend Matt Teskey, it's a level 7 capable vehicle. So it does charge much more quickly than the Volvo. And, the difference between being able to put 150 miles of range on it in 15 minutes while you go to the bathroom, you buy some snacks, you get a cup of coffee, and you come back out to the car, versus the Volvo where that whole thing would take 45 minutes. I think that really is advantage Hyundai in that sense. But honestly, it would not be my first choice to take either one of these cars out on like a 600 or 700-mile road trip. I'd want something bigger.
Yeah, I think it's so irrelevant for my choice what car to buy in this stage. They all have enough range. Like my argument used to be 150 was enough. This is way over 150. We're like in 200 plus 300 territory. It's fine. Like, don't worry about it. But I'll let you chime in on what you like about the driving qualities, driving performance of the Volvo before I just come in and win the argument and this episode.
There's two different ways of looking at it, right? Because we can talk about how they feel behind the road, and the Volvo just feels heavier. For a little sporty looking, slick looking car like the C40 is, man, does it feel solid on the road. Those big tires, the wheels and tires, they feel like steamrollers going ahead. And when you put your foot on it, it really picks up and moves. It's not snappy. It's not punchy. It just kind of like, you just kind of feel this invisible hand pressing against your stomach, and you just like go off into the distance. I never got either car into a high enough speed that would get me in trouble with the people who are sending me demos. But I imagine I have a pretty good imagination, and I think it'll get up to like 110, 120 by the end of the on ramp, which is moving. You can certainly merge into Chicago traffic with that, and it just does it very quickly. If I was gonna complain about it, and I had to find something to complain about, I would say that it there is so much rigidity in the chassis. There's so much sound deadening and insulation in there and quiet in there that you do get a little bit of tire noise. Zachary
I
had a
was
really
I
good
was
point,
muted.
but he was muted.
I was muted. I was saying, and it
But
is
you can
quieter.
tell from his face that it was like a really good point too.
Well, I was saying, and it is quieter than the IONIQ 5 inside.
It is quieter. It's quiet.
Like
I mean,
this is,
you can't
I
you
give you
can't help
props.
that. Yeah, it's quieter.
Yeah,
But
and
the
it was
the
so quiet, I
question
was
is,
muted. I was like,
right.
you
The
couldn't even
question
hear.
is, do you really want, is quiet the thing that you really want? Do you really want to feel like you're driving around in a bank vault? I think most of the time, you're doing something somewhat professional in life. You're trying to make a phone call, you're trying to talk to your spouse or whatever. Yeah, you want that. You want that quiet. And it
Well,
does kind of take down the fatigue of like commuting and things like that. But I don't do any of that. So
yeah, I'll be honest. Coming from a 2019 Tesla Model 3, the quietness of the interior has much more much more appeal to me than it used to.
I'll tell you this,
The
if I
Model 3
hear
is loud.
something, yeah, if I hear something rattling, I know that there's like something loose in the
Oh,
car.
it's very loud driving in the Model 3 on a fast road. But I will say we had an i3 BMW i3 before the Model 3, and I love the Model 3 is very solid, and it's like you just feel, oh, I'm solid on the road. The Volvo's got that kind of driving quality. The i3, I still miss how zippy and airy. It just is so light. You just zip off the line. I had one zip off the line at a red light next to me a few days ago, and I was like, "What is this car? Like, what are they doing going crazy off the line?" And I was like, "Oh, it's an i3. That's why they're zipping ahead of my Model 3, because that's what you do in the i3. It's so good at that. It
Yeah.
feels like a fun go kart." And I missed that with the i3. And the
Yes.
IONIQ 5 has that a bit. It's not exactly the same, obviously,
It
but
has it
it's
a
got
bit.
that a bit. It's airy, it's light, it's quick off the line. It's like a fun go-kart for adults, maybe a little bit more so than the i3 with its tiny wheels. It's not as solid, especially on the interstate or something, but it's more so than an i3, that's for sure. And it's just, I think, as a great balance. It's a really appealing balance for me between solid driving and airy, fun, zippy feel. And again, it just matches the fun, futuristic. I just keep thinking of the Jetsons. I know that's not a flying car, but I just think of the Jetsons. It's like, it's what you sort of thought as a kid. Oh, that's the future. And I don't know. I'm brainwashed, but I love it.
Well, I will say this, right? It is infinitely more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow. And if you have a Model 3 long range or a Model 3 performance or like a Model S plaid, you're like using like that first 5 or 10% of the throttle, and you're still breaking every law in the country speed wise, right? Because they're just so flipping fast. And you don't have the same problem with the C40 because it is less horsepower. It's 402 horsepower, but it's a ton of torque. And we throw that number out there like it's a small number, but that's like what a Dodge Viper had. That's more than a Corvette ZR1 had in a generation ago. So I mean, these are seriously quick cars. And when you put your foot on it like that, you get into so much trouble so quickly that it really becomes unfun. You just have to kind of like not eat the second slice of pizza. You know what I mean? The IONIQ, it doesn't put you in that position because you can put it down into eco mode. I mean, if you put it in sport mode, it's gonna zoom. But if you have it in eco mode or even standard mode, it zips off the line. It gives you all the performance you need, and you can really have fun with it. You can drive it at 6 or 7 tenths and really enjoy yourself. With the Tesla, unless you're at Watkins Glen and your name is Randy Post, you are not going to get anywhere near the performance limits of that car. And the Volvo, frankly, is the same. And I think I hate to say this, I think it's too much for public roads. It makes the car unfun because you can't ever get on top.
Yeah.
People call the police.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly, I do agree. I have a Model 3 standard range, and to me, that's as much as anyone. I'm like, even I still don't get to eat the second slice of pizza most of the time. Or I used to, And then I went through tires too quick, and I'm like, I'll just drive like a normal person more. But it's really,
Yeah.
but I legitimately think the faster ones are just too fast. Like, I mean, for roads, I mean, for racing, sure. Anyway, let's just get to close the deal, get to the chase here. I think both of these cars are wonderful vehicles. We wouldn't have picked two cars where we thought they weren't both worth buying. I love the C40 despite some of my things I don't like about it, and trying to win the debate. I do definitely, though, think the IONIQ 5 is a more appealing car. I think a lot more people will buy it.
You're dragging this out, but I know you think
It's
you
much,
won.
and I'm gonna win the debate because I know that you already chose the IONIQ 5. So we had this fun banter, but I knew you chose the IONIQ 5 over the C40. So I just,
I did choose the IONIQ. So what Zachary is alluding to
meaning
here,
that you bought it.
yeah,
You didn't pick it. You didn't give it 5 stars. You bought the car.
I did. So, but you didn't win the debate. Okay. So I know it's a little bit out of character because I do own the Volvo Joe URL. So like, let's get that out of the way. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll let you have this. But I maintain that the Volvo is a better car. If you
No,
were
but
going to have,
you have a I win still argument. You can use it. Go for
I
it.
do have an I win still because if I was only going to have one car, I would 1,000% have the Volvo. But I have a 2-car garage, and in the other space is a Volvo XC90 with 6-passenger seating, plenty of room for the wife and kids. It is a slick machine. It is rock solid. It is dependable. It is safe. And if I'm going to go across the country or drive 4 states away, I'm going to take that car. So I do have that Volvo in the garage, and I wanted a second car that was just going to be driven every once in a while for me, for fun. And for that, honestly, for every reason we've said, for the light interior, for that futuristic kind of funky design, for that tossability and that fun to drive spirit, obviously the Hyundai was the choice, right? And it's an ideal second car. If you have a Model S or a Model Y in the in the other space in the garage and you're looking for a second EV that you're going to drive mainly for yourself, but you still want enough room for the kids and the dog, you really can't do anything better right now.
But I would just say, you said second car. This is going to be your first car. You might say second car, but you're going to drive this car more. You're going to like it more, and you're going to be like, oh, what car do I want to take today? Oh, the IONIQ 5. Yeah, I know you, Joe. Don't worry.
We'll see.
Don't worry.
We'll see.
I'd like to see you track your
I'll
trips.
never admit it.
Don't track miles, track trips.
Don't track. Okay, now that
I don't know how many road trips you take, but I know you
but
take the bigger one on a road trip.
if I was gonna do a 6-7 mile trip and just I'm gonna hop in the car, I'm gonna go run a few errands. Yeah, I'll take the Hyundai.
But that's it for this episode. Joe had the good idea. Next episode we could do the IONIQ 5 against the Model 3, which I drive. So then we can really go at it because we both legitimately chose those cars to own. And
you know what's cool about the IONIQ 5? If I spend $15,000 on an option, I get to use it.
That will be a good episode, I think.
Peace.
Peace.